Hi, guys. This is Mr. Edmond, of course. And today, what we're going to look at with our first video lesson here, and what we'll be doing going forward, is the Latino movement of the 1960s and 1970s in the United States. And what we're going to see through this movement is it's going to mirror the civil rights movement. And when I say that, we're going to see that because of the civil rights movement, and by the time you get into the 60s, the successes of the civil rights movement, what we're going to see is we're going to have other groups as well. They're going to start saying, well, while that's successful, let's try to get something done on our behalf as well. And by the time you get into the 1960s, we're looking at a population in America, a Latino population, of upwards to 9 million. And we have not just people coming from Mexico, but from Cuba, from the Dominican Republic, even from Puerto Rico. That's a U.S. territory, but we're still having people coming into the mainland United States to get work. And in a lot of cases, as we'll see, the work that the Latinos are getting are underpaid, and in a lot of cases, you're on farms and you're not being treated kind of the way any other worker in the United States would be treated. And so, because of that, you're really going to see a movement form, and the movement will form through this man, Cesar Chavez. In 1962, Chavez, along with Dolores Huerta, are going to form the UFWOC. And you can kind of see that in the background of the picture here. And I want to draw your attention to the F and the W. The F and the W stand for farm workers. And when you're talking about this union, because that's really what it was, this was a union formed by Chavez and Huerta to try to draw attention to the fact that farm workers were underpaid. Farm workers were working long hours. They were working in conditions that were not, suitable in other jobs that other unions wouldn't put up with. So when Chavez and Huerta formed the UFWOC in 1962, it's with the thought of improving working conditions, just like every other union we've really talked about so far this year. And what we're going to see is Chavez will go to the workers and again, being one himself, and will start organizing them that they deserve better rights as Americans, as citizens. They deserve better rights than what they're getting at work. And so what will happen, especially when we're talking about the California Grape Association and the grape businesses in California, what will happen is by 1965, and you can see the boycott here, by 1965, basically the UFWOC and Chavez will organize the grape boycott, and this was nationwide. You can see in the one picture here, a woman is standing outside of a supermarket holding a sign. This was a nationwide boycott of grapes in the United States. Everybody could get involved in this if they wanted to. And so Chavez, learning from Martin Luther King's example that he saw in the civil rights movement, Chavez did a nonviolent protest. A boycott, remember, is going at money. It's trying to make sure that the business loses money, which of course it will here. And Robert Kennedy will even get involved in this. You can see Kennedy sitting with Chavez here on the right. And because of Kennedy's involvement and Chavez going on a hunger strike for 3 weeks at one point, you raised awareness to the movement. And so going back to this slide, in 1970, the grape boycott is actually successful. And the California grape pickers actually get higher wages. They get better conditions. And again, it's a nonviolent protest. So La Raza, as we see here on the left-hand side, is a political movement that's going to start up. And by the early 1970s, what you have with La Raza United means the people united. And what you really have is you have mayors, city councilmen, it could be school board members that start running for public office. And as we've talked about before, if you want to change things through politics. And that's what starts happening with the Latino population as well. Get out and vote and get your people into office so you can basically go for what you need to do and the issues you want to see brought in. And that's La Raza. You also have something called brown power that starts popping up. And this is, again, kind of like black power that we saw with the civil rights movement. Pride is really what we're talking about here, Latino pride. And in New York, for example, school systems basically started saying, we need Spanish-speaking classrooms. And you need to start, basically recognizing the population that you have in your towns, if it's in New York, if it's in Miami, for instance. So when we're talking about the legacy of Cesar Chavez, what we're really talking about is a man who learned from Martin Luther King Jr., learned from the civil rights movement, and really went to change his part of the world, the Latino part of the world in the United States. And it's a movement that he began in the 60s and that has gone all the way to now.